The Decision Book by Mikael Krogerus and Roman Shapiler. Picture this. You're standing in front of your closet, completely frozen. Nothing feels right. Or you're gripping a restaurant menu, sweating slightly as the waiter hovers nearby with that expectant look. Sound familiar? Now imagine the bigger moments. You're at a literal fork in the road of your life. College brochures scattered across your desk. Job offers from different cities. Career paths branching in opposite directions. And you're just standing there, totally paralyzed. Here's the thing. You're in good company. About 9 years ago, two friends named Mikael Krogerus and Roman Shapiler had an embarrassing revelation. They were grown adults who couldn't make decisions. Not just the massive, life-changing ones either. Even the small stuff felt impossibly hard. Every single day felt like wading through an endless river of choices. So they did what any slightly obsessive person would do. They went on a quest. They hunted down every mental model, every decision-making trick, every simple diagram that could bring some order to the chaos swirling in their heads. They figured they'd make a tiny handbook, print maybe 500 copies for friends and family, and call it a day. Plot twist: that little handbook exploded. The Decision Book sold over 1 million copies in 20 languages. Turns out, pretty much everyone on Earth feels overwhelmed by decisions. But here's what makes this book special. It doesn't hand you answers on a silver platter. Instead, it's packed with 50 brilliant mental models that help you ask better questions. These aren't complicated textbook theories. They're simple visual tools you can sketch on a napkin during coffee, or hold in your mind when life gets messy. By the time we're done here, you'll have a peek into this incredible mental toolkit. You'll discover how to work smarter, understand yourself better, connect with people more effectively, and make decisions with actual confidence. This isn't just about choosing what to do. It's about understanding why you're doing it. Ready? Let's crack open this toolbox. Let's start with the question that haunts most of us daily. How do I get everything done without completely losing it? Your to-do list probably feels like it stretches to the moon. Everything screams for attention. Everything claims to be urgent. But here's where the authors introduce something genius in its simplicity. A tool that helped President Dwight D. Eisenhower run the entire country. It's called the Eisenhower Matrix. Imagine a simple box split into 4 sections. One side goes from urgent to not urgent. The other goes from important to not important. Every task that lands on your plate fits somewhere in these 4 boxes. Urgent and important? Do it now. These are your crises, your deadlines, your hair-on-fire emergencies. Most of us basically live here, sprinting from one disaster to the next. Urgent but not important? Here's the clever bit. Delegate it. These are interruptions and distractions that feel pressing but don't actually move your life forward. Not urgent and not important? Do it later, or honestly, maybe never. This is busy work, the stuff we do when we're procrastinating. But the 4th box is where the magic happens. Important, but not urgent. This is where you plan, learn, build relationships, exercise, and think strategically. This is the work that prevents future crises. As Eisenhower supposedly said, the most urgent decisions are rarely the most important ones. When you use this matrix, you stop being a frantic firefighter and start becoming the architect of your own life. All right, tasks organized. But now you're facing something bigger. A new project. A risky opportunity. A fork-in-the-road decision. How do you know if it's worth it? Enter the classic SWOT analysis. SWOT stands for Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats. Another 4-box wonder. Strengths and weaknesses are about you or your project, what you're great at and where you struggle. Opportunities and threats are about the outside world, what trends you can ride and what obstacles might crush you. This model came from a 1960s study of Fortune 500 companies. Researchers discovered a massive gap between what companies planned to do and what they actually achieved. The problem wasn't lazy employees, it was vague goals. People literally didn't know why they were doing what they were doing. SWOT was created to bring clarity. By honestly mapping these 4 areas, you can build a real strategy. Use your strengths to grab opportunities, and shore up your weaknesses to defend against threats. But what happens when your choice isn't between good and bad, but between 2 genuinely appealing options? You want to go to that party, but you also desperately need sleep. You want the exciting job in a new city, but you also want to stay close to family and friends. Classic dilemma. For this, the authors offer something beautifully simple, the rubber band model. Picture yourself in the middle with a giant rubber band around your waist. One end pulls you toward the shiny new opportunity. The other end holds you back, connected to everything you value right now. Instead of the usual depressing pros and cons list, this model reframes everything as 2 positive forces. What's pulling me, and what's holding me? It acknowledges that both options have real appeal. By listing these forces, you see your actual values at stake. Sometimes, just visualizing it is enough to know which way that rubber band will snap. Here's a fun paradox. We assume more choice is always better. 100 phone options must beat 5, right? Wrong. The book reveals something fascinating. Sometimes more is actually less. This is choice overload. The book shares a legendary experiment by Professor Sheena Iyengar. She set up a jam-tasting booth in a supermarket. One day she offered 24 flavors. Another day, just 6. The results were wild. The display with 24 jams attracted way more attention. 60% of shoppers stopped, but only 2% actually bought anything. The smaller display with 6 jams attracted fewer people, but 30% of those who stopped made a purchase. The lesson is clear. Massive choice looks exciting but actually paralyzes us. We get so worried about choosing wrong that we freeze and choose nothing. The fix? Intentionally limit your options. At a restaurant, find the first appealing dish and close the menu. When researching a purchase, set a time limit. As the book wisely puts it, more is difficult. But smart decisions aren't just about organizing tasks or limiting choices. The deepest decisions come from self-knowledge. If you don't know who you are, how can you possibly know what you want? This brings us to part 2, how to understand yourself better. Let's start with the ultimate question. What actually makes you happy? Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi spent his career studying this and coined a famous term for optimal experience, flow. The flow model shows exactly when this magical state happens. Picture a graph. The vertical axis is challenge level, low to high. The horizontal axis is your skill level, also low to high. High challenge with low skills? Anxiety and burnout, you're drowning. High skills with low challenge? Boredom and apathy, you're wasting away. Flow is that sweet spot right between them. The challenge perfectly matches your abilities. You're so absorbed that time disappears, your ego vanishes, and you feel deeply satisfied. Think of a musician lost in performance, an athlete in the zone, an artist absorbed in creation. This model isn't just theory, it's a treasure map to joy. It tells us that happiness isn't about lounging around, it's about being appropriately challenged. But how do we see ourselves clearly? We all have blind spots. For this, the book presents the Johari window, developed by Joseph Luft and Harry Ingham. Imagine a window with 4 panes. The public arena, what you know about yourself and others know too. Your open book. The hidden facade, what you know but keep private. Your secrets, fears, and hidden dreams. The blind spot, this is the fascinating one, what others see in you that you can't see yourself. Maybe you interrupt people constantly but don't realize it. Or perhaps you have an unrecognized talent. This is where honest feedback becomes priceless. The unknown, aspects hidden from everyone, including you, untapped potential, subconscious patterns, depths that might only surface in dreams or crises. The Johari window teaches us that self-awareness is a lifelong journey, requiring both reflection and the courage to really listen to others. What about when our actions clash with our beliefs? Everyone knows smoking is terrible for you, so why do people still do it? The book explains this with the cognitive dissonance model. Psychologist Leon Festinger used this term for the mental discomfort we feel when actions contradict values. When we mess up but refuse to admit it, we experience dissonance. And how do we ease that discomfort? Self-justification. A smoker might say, "Yeah, it's unhealthy, but it helps me relax." Or, "My grandpa smoked daily and lived to 90. We create stories to bridge the gap between what we do and what we know is right. We seek information confirming our choices and ignore everything contradicting them. This model reminds us to be brutally honest with ourselves, admit mistakes, and change our behavior rather than just our story. The self-discovery journey peaks with one of the book's most practical tools, the crossroads model. This is for those moments when you're truly lost and asking, what next? It's a visual map to find direction. Start by looking back. Where have I come from? What key events, decisions, and people shaped me? Look inward. What really matters to me? What are my core values and guiding principles? Look outward. Which people matter to me? Whose opinions do I value? Who's affected by my decisions? Identify barriers. What's holding me back? What fears, deadlines, or obligations are in the way? Then look at the roads ahead. The model suggests imagining several paths: the familiar road, the dream road, the sensible road, and even the road you've never once considered. It's a holistic exercise connecting your past, present, and future, helping you choose something not just logical, but deeply aligned with who you are. Once we understand ourselves, we can focus on other people. The third section is called How to Understand Others Better. One memorable model comes from a surprising source: Donald Rumsfeld, former U.S. Secretary of Defense. His now famous press conference laid out a framework for analyzing risk called the Rumsfeld Matrix. He described 4 categories. Known knowns, risks we're aware of and prepared for. You know bikes get stolen, so you lock yours. Known unknowns, risks we know exist but can't predict. We know the stock market will crash eventually, just not when. Unknown knowns, the realm of intuition, that gut feeling we know more than we think. But the most powerful is unknown unknowns, things we don't know that we don't know, risks completely off our radar because we can't even imagine them. Pearl Harbor was an unknown unknown for the U.S. This model teaches profound humility. The biggest catastrophes often come from failures of imagination, and true wisdom lies in acknowledging how much we don't know. But what about smaller failures? Why do mistakes happen in teams? The book uses a brilliant metaphor, the Swiss cheese model. Imagine an organization's defenses as several slices of Swiss cheese lined up. Each slice is protection, a policy, a checklist, a supervisor. Ideally, these slices would be solid, but in reality, every slice has holes, weaknesses, human errors, technical glitches. Usually, mistakes get stopped by one slice. An error might slip through the first hole, but the next slice blocks it. Catastrophe only happens when, by sheer bad luck, all the holes align perfectly, letting one mistake travel straight through all defenses. This model is used in aviation and medicine to analyze accidents, showing that major failures rarely come from one dramatic event, but from a chain of smaller, often invisible vulnerabilities. To understand others, we need to understand motivation. Here, the book revisits a classic, the Maslow Pyramids. Abraham Maslow created a hierarchy of human needs, starting from basics. Bottom level, physiological needs, food, water, sleep. Next, safety needs, security, shelter, steady income. Then, social needs, love, friendship, belonging. After that, esteem needs, recognition, status, respect. Finally, at the top, self-actualization, realizing your full potential, creativity, finding purpose. The first three are basic needs. Once satisfied, we forget about them. The top two are growth needs, never fully satisfied. The book adds a brilliant twist by placing a second, inverted pyramid labeled What We Want. It makes a powerful point. In the modern Western world, the things we crave most, status and self-actualization, are often what we need least. Finally, let's look at the last section, How to Improve Others. This is where models become tools for leadership, collaboration, and building great things together. Every great project needs a team. But how do you know if yours has what it takes? The team model provides a simple visual test. You define key skills needed: creativity, technical expertise, communication, etc. You rate each team member 1 to 10 for each skill, then connect the dots to create a unique profile. When you overlay these profiles, you instantly see collective strengths and weaknesses. Are you all strong in one area but weak in another? The model reveals that real strength lies in differences, not similarities. A well-rounded team is one where individual strengths complement each other. But having the right people isn't enough. You have to lead them. The Hersey-Blanchard model, or situational leadership, argues there's no single best leadership style. The right style depends entirely on who you're leading. It outlines 4 stages. When someone's new, enthusiastic but inexperienced, you're instructing, giving clear directions. As they gain skill but maybe lose motivation, you shift to coaching, asking questions, and guiding them to find answers. Once they're highly skilled but have fluctuating commitment, you're supporting, empowering, and encouraging their ideas. Finally, when they're both highly competent and committed, you're simply delegating, trusting them with full ownership. A great leader's goal is adapting your approach to help people grow until you eventually make yourself unnecessary. And what about project reality? We all want work that's good, fast, and cheap. The project management triangle delivers humbling reality. You can only have 2. Think of a triangle with good, fast, and cheap at the corners. Good and fast, expensive. Fast and cheap, poor quality. Good and cheap, slow. This simple, inescapable trade-off applies to almost everything, from building websites to planning parties. It forces realistic thinking about priorities. You can't have it all. You have to choose what matters most. From managing time to understanding your mind, from navigating risks to leading teams, these models are more than diagrams. They're lenses. They're frameworks that take messy, overwhelming reality and simplify it, not by ignoring complexity, but by focusing on what truly matters. They don't give you answers, but they ask the right questions. And often, that's all you need. As we close the decision book, what stays with me isn't just the cleverness of 50 models, but the profound philosophy behind them. In a world moving faster every day, drowning us in data and overwhelming us with choices, the authors offer a powerful antidote: structured thinking. This book is a quiet rebellion against chaos. It teaches that clarity doesn't come from more information, but from better frameworks to understand what we already have. These models are like mental chisels, letting us take a big, intimidating block of a problem and carefully chip away until we reveal the elegant solution hiding inside. What I find most beautiful is its humility. The book never claims to have a magic formula. Instead, it acknowledges that life is complex and uncertain. It reminds us, through the Rumsfeld Matrix, how much we don't know. Through the Swiss cheese model, it shows that failure often results from systems, not just individual blame. This fosters curiosity and compassion, both for ourselves and others. So how can you start using this toolkit today? Here are 2 simple actions. First, pick just one model and live with it for a week. Don't try memorizing all 50. Just choose one that speaks to a problem you're facing. If your days feel chaotic, draw the Eisenhower Matrix and put it on your desk. For every task, force yourself to place it in one of the 4 boxes. Experience teaches more than reading ever could. Second, embrace drawing. The authors emphasize these are visual tools meant to be sketched. Next time you're wrestling with a tough decision, Grab pen and paper. Try drawing your problem, maybe a SWOT analysis of a summer job, or a rubber band model for a difficult choice. Translating jumbled thoughts into a simple diagram is magical. It forces clarity and uncovers hidden connections. You don't need artistic talent, as the book says. These are abstract illustrations, not works of art. In the end, the decision book is more than a guide to choices. It's a guide to intentional living. It gives us tools to move from being reactive passengers, tossed by circumstance, to becoming thoughtful, strategic pilots of our own journeys. It teaches that the quality of our lives is determined by the quality of our thinking. And with these models in hand, we're all equipped to think a little better, a little clearer, and a little more wisely. That was a summary of the Decision Book by Mikael Krogerus and Roman Chapeller. We've touched on core ideas today, but a summary is like looking at a map of a beautiful country. It can show the layout and point out major cities, but it can never replace actually walking the streets, breathing the air, and discovering hidden alleyways yourself. The real power of this book is in application. If any of these mental models sparked curiosity, I truly encourage you to pick up a copy. Using these tools to dissect your own challenges can genuinely change how you navigate your world. You can find a link to the book in the description below. And if you found this journey valuable, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Thank you for joining me, and let's keep growing together.